Hello and welcome to another episode of Temporary Australians. I'm Jonesy.
And I'm Hirsty.
This is Mike and this is what's coming up on the show today.
On Temporary Australians, Jonesy looks at what goes into saving riders at an accident site. We check out Tracy's excellent chopper. The Bear reveals what Road Rider magazine is all about. Ollie raves about Victory Tours. We check out the move to Sydney of Victory Motorcycles. Mayor Greg Westman shares some motorcycle racing memories from the Bathurst Motor Racing Museum. Shaun Lennard reflects on kids in racing. We talk to Doddles from CMA New South Wales. Jonesy explains why we should learn the right stuff. And we find out what happened to racing great Graeme Crosby.
One thing about motorcycles, from time to time you can fall off them. I've fallen off a couple of times, 8, but who's counting? The thing is to be prepared and what to do in an accident. We're about to witness a motorcycle accident and what to do in the aftermath. We've seen the accident. What's happening now?
Okay, just after the motorcycle crash actually occurs, we were lucky enough in our scenario today to have somebody come past that was first aid trained. In this event, it was actually 2 St John ambulance trained people. They arrived at the event, they went through their danger response airway breathing circulation mnemonic, which is just a simple memory aid to understand what needs to be done in what order. So they assessed for danger, make sure there was no oncoming vehicles or anything like that. They checked for a response with the patient, they checked their airway, their breathing and then their circulation. And they went about assessing the patient's bodily injuries from top to toe.
And the next step is the most important, I guess, part of this is ringing 000.
Absolutely. 000 is the number that we want everyone in Australia to ring. Tell the 000 operator where they are, how many patients may be involved, what resources, whether we require police, fire and or ambulance. There's also things like the exact location of that incident and what sort of injuries we're going to be dealing with. That all helps us prepare our response in terms of who needs to come.
And then a paramedic's on the scene and he's on a motorcycle.
Yes, the ambulance motorcycle and the police motorcyclist both turn up, and that's not uncommon to happen. The police helped us there with the police securing the scene, warning other vehicles and oncoming vehicles of danger and posting lookouts and people to warn people to slow down, which is very important, keeping the scene continually safe. The other responder was the ambulance motorcyclist. When he responded, he actually started to take over the treatment that the St John's people initiated and continued that level of care that starts from the very first time you make contact with somebody till the time they're in an ambulance or at hospital.
I noticed the police officer had his hand on his gun as he came up to the rider. Is this standard procedure?
Oh, I think it was just resting on his hip, but I can't be sure. Maybe he was angry with the patient.
One of the things you look at with the riders down, you've got to ascertain what's actually wrong with them as far as any breaks, but you can't see internal injuries.
No, certainly part of that is that, and a big factor we have with motorcyclists is that they never want the paramedics to cut the clothes off. The reality is that if we have to assess a patient, certainly if we have to gain intravenous access, if we put a needle in their vein or examine injuries that they've got, we're going to have to cut leathers and protective equipment off. It's unpleasant, it's unfortunate for the rider. One of the things they can do to offset that is have their protective gear insured. That's a big factor because if you've got a $300 jacket, you can get it easily replaced on your insurance. So we advise and encourage riders to do that these days.
And so now the patient is put into the ambulance?
Yep. Well, yes, the ambulance arrives next and the ongoing care continues. They hand over to the next highest clinical people. In that regard, in this case today, we had a medical retrieval unit doctor on the car. He was able to continue that care that we had initiated, or St John's had initiated, and we keep doing that care, repeating, keep looking at observations, checking blood pressures and continuing to treat fractures and things, getting them loaded and off to definitive care, which is the nearest hospital or the nearest trauma unit.
I like to get loaded all the time, but not in that way. So if anything, next time I fall off my motorcycle, it will be good to know that these people are around. If only I can find a nice grassy area with the spectators all around to do it, it'll make it easy for insurance.
It's a big
purposes.
show. It's great fun. But certainly, yeah, and the number we want people to ring is 000. Get yourself into a first aid course. If you're going to be part of the solution as a motorcyclist, don't be part of the problem. Know the life-saving skills. Talk to St John, talk to any of the private agencies that can help you in first aid training. Become trained and competent in those skills and use them.
Excellent. Bruce, thank you.
A lot of people would be a little bit nervous about riding a bike like this, but to be honest with you, I mean, it's one of those bikes where it's got a lot of powerless strengths, but quite easy to ride in comparison, but it is quite a big bike to ride, but I really do enjoy riding it.
You don't see many women riding custom bikes like this. Are you on your own?
Yes, I am on my own, yes, and I do enjoy riding it. I've got also a Harley Davidson as well, so yeah, I like the bike scene and really enjoy it, and try and promote a lot of other women to get into it as well, because a lot of women are a bit frightened of how big they are, and I only weigh about 56, 57 kilos, and these bikes are up to 300 kilos, and it's quite easy to ride once they're upright, put it that way, and if I can ride it, I mean, most women can ride it. I have a bike at the moment here that's been built by Big Joe Choppers, and it's a ICV handmade chopper, so it's not a chopped Harley, it's fully handmade. Most of the components have been handmade. It has an S&S 96 cube motor in it. It's a right wheel drive. It's also it's got a 250 rear wheel on it. We have these twin air filters that come up, and they're basically very good for helping the engine breathe. Also too, these exhaust pipes that you have here are from Big Joe Choppers, and they've been handcrafted through Big Joe. And there's probably about close to 20-25 parts that actually were welded together to make those pipes. The seat was handcrafted actually only just down the road, and it sort of was shaped to fit the bike, so it was all handcrafted for the bike.
I notice you haven't built a pillion seat there for your partner.
No, unfortunately for my partner, there is no partner at the moment, but at the same time, if there was a partner, he'll have to get his own bike, I'm sorry.
My name's Peter Toming, better known as The Bear, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Australian Road Rider magazine and Cruiser and Trike. I wanted to do a motorcycle magazine. So I went to Australian Publishing and said, guys, what about it? And put a proposal to them for what was essentially an old blokes magazine. It was intended to be for the baby boomers, because there was no one catering to us in those days. And they said, well, yeah, okay, that looks all right. Niche magazine, but it'll do all right. Well, we've since become Australia's best-selling road bike magazine, mainly because we cater to that market really well, and we attract enough other people, younger people, to the magazine as well. So we sell 21,500 copies or whatever it is. Going by the reaction at the show, everybody likes the magazine.
It's good to hear that young people are involved in your magazine too, because that's really the future, isn't it? Getting young people into riding, getting them into the culture.
Yeah, it's been a real problem. There's been probably a decade where there were so many other things to do, and computer games and whatever else were taking up their interest. But just recently, in the last probably 6 months or maybe even less, there's been a real surge in sales of 250s, which seems very strange, because beginners don't have to ride 250s anymore. They can ride 650s. But I think because the product is right, we've got a whole set of little race lookalike 250s that really look like fun. So the kids are buying them. And we try to support that as much as possible as we can, the magazine.
I've got a 2009 Victory Vision Tour. It's the full bottle. It's one with a lot. It's a beautiful big touring bike.
Well, why did you choose this particular style? There's a lot of custom bikes here, but you've gone more for a traditional cruiser look, haven't you?
It's got terrific power. It's got excellent brakes. I took this for a test ride. I took it out, did 500 kilometres on it, had it for 3 or 4 days, and we just put it through every twisty, every long stretch of freeway we could, and it just came up trumps. It was just a magnificent bike to ride. In fact, I've just come back from a ride up from southern New South Wales. We did 400 kilometres in the rain. It rained the whole way. And I had my son on the back, and the whole way it was wet, yeah, but we had the stereo going, we had the windscreen up, we had heated grips, we had beautiful heated seats, and it was almost you know, the rain really didn't bother us that much, you know, and we got off the bike after 400 kilometres and high-fived and whooped and yee-hawed. It was a great experience, and you can't do that on a naked bike or on a cruiser. You know, it has to be a big touring bike before you can enjoy that sort of level of riding in the rain for, you know, 4 hours straight. It's a magnificent thing, and even in the rain, it handles beautifully. It's almost like the faster you go, the less weather you get on, because it just blows the shape, the way the fairing shape and the windscreen shape. It just tends to blow the weather away. It's a whole experience riding one of these. It really is.
Now, Sydney riders may have noticed a new motorcycle shop that's a little bit different.
You're coming to market with a V-twin American motorcycle and you make up a brand name, you know, let's call it Victory. How do you get any credibility in the market? Because Harley obviously dominate, they own the market, they're a great brand, and they've been around for 100 and something years now. So you either try and copy them and hope to snitch a few things, but there's plenty of people who've been down that well-trodden path and most of them aren't around anymore. Or you try and do things differently. And Victory have about, in 2003 when they first came out with, late 2002 with the Vegas, was when they turned that corner. They were trying to copy. And then they came out with the smooth flowing lines, you know, the more modern style.
The new American motorcycle.
The new American motorcycle, that's when they changed.
How long has Victory been here as yet?
In this location, we opened the store on the 29th of January in 2011, and there was probably 4 or 5 months worth of construction before that to get it to this point. So yeah, we've been here for 9-10 months now.
I didn't realise it was so recent. How's it been received by the motorcycling community in Sydney?
Look, the reception we've got, Greg, is really good. There's been a lot of floor traffic through with people that have saying, I've heard about the store, or, you know, it's about time you guys got here. Most people walk in and have a look around the place, and as you've seen, it's quite a spectacular showroom, so the first impression is really good, and the bikes are good bikes, and they're reliable, and the people have been waiting for them to hit the market, so the reception's been great so far.
Has the owners group taken off here yet?
The owners group is slowly coming along as we gather a bit more momentum and put more Victory owners on the street. There's a core group there now that are starting to get together and a little more active, and it will just grow as we start to increase the amount of owners that are in Sydney metro area.
Corey, son of Arlen Ness, showed up to promote the opening.
It's easy to get behind the brand when you believe it and you ride it. I mean, this year I didn't put as many miles on per day, but just for how our deal worked out. But 3 years in a row, I put 800 miles a day riding to South Dakota. So it's kind of like cheating, because you're on the right motorcycle. It's so comfortable. It's it works great, and it doesn't wear you out. If you put that many miles on a bike, you're pretty shot, But but we go anything of any distance, we're gonna ride a Victory. There's no question about it.
Now, Mount Panorama is famous for motorcycling for over 50 years in Bathurst.
Yeah, definitely. Mount Panorama is synonymous with motorcycles in the past. Obviously, these days we unfortunately don't have the motorcycles up here on Mount Panorama, but they're deep in our heritage, and they're rich in our heritage, and they live very strongly in the memory of Bathurst for sure. And I'm sure Bathurst would love to see motorcycles come back to Bathurst.
There have been some greats who've raced up here. I noticed on the board there, Doohan and Gardner and Sean Giles.
Yeah, been many greats race here at Mount Panorama. The Easter races used to be an absolutely fantastic event. So whether it was sidecars, whether you were on the standard two wheels, it was an absolutely outstanding event, and it was great for everybody. So whether you were here as a passionate supporter, or whether you were just someone that came in for the weekend just to have a look, it was an event that you couldn't miss. People come here to the museum to see all facets of motorsport history. So yes, we have a lot of cars here, but as you can see in this hall here today, we have a lot of motorbikes, and that motorbike history is sliders, it's dirt bikes, but you can see we've got a very strong history here with road bikes, and all the way from Ron Tombs bikes here around the corner we have Greg Hansford bikes, We've got the Wayne Gardner bike, #1 bike down there, and we've also got some sidecars down there as well. So we've got all types here, and it's absolutely fantastic. But I can tell you the elderly gentlemen tend to get up here and they get very passionate around this area here, very, very passionate.
Wayne Gardner giving a bike the way he has to the museum and is quite a milestone, I suppose, because he's such an iconic figure in Australian motorcycling.
Yeah, definitely. Wayne Gardner was obviously a legend in the motorcycle sport. Great that he won those world championships, and obviously we had Mick Dillon follow through with those, and now we've got young Casey Stoner doing the same sort of things. So it's fantastic that heritage has been created and now carrying through right through the youth development. You see both Wayne and Mick are very active in that development of the youth and motorcyclists coming up.
Now I notice in the museum there's essentially 3 halls, and one of them, the one in the middle, is pretty well full of motorcycles. Now that's deliberate, I gather.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, if you have a look at the halls, it's dedicated nowadays to different eras, I suppose, of motorsport. So if you have a look in the front, you've got a lot of different types of vehicles that were used on the mount. Where you come into the second hall, where we're standing now, is basically motorcycles, as you said. And if you get down to the back, it's generally those touring cars down the back. So, yeah, from off-road motor cars to motorbikes to on-the-track road cars.
Now, I guess we have to mention Peter Brock. I mean, he's synonymous really with racing cars up here.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we've got a couple of Peter's cars out the back there, a few Craig Lowndes cars out there, and we've also got the Moffat car out there as well. So there's some good cars here, but you know, there's a lot of other things about the museum other than just the cars.
What's your feeling of the way that motorcycle racing is going in Australia with Australia Ride? Are we getting a lot of youngsters coming through that have got a future in it?
Look, what is interesting though, in the last few years we've seen more and more youngsters, rather than betting themselves so much and maybe looking to win an Australian title and heading overseas, we're actually seeing many Australians sort of around the age of 19, 20 and 21 actually heading off to the UK, where you see what Wayne Gardner's doing with his son Remy, heading off to Spain for the junior championship. So the young guys around about 17, 18, 19 who are really showing some potential are actually heading overseas younger, so it's maybe actually having a little bit of a detrimental effect on some of the domestic racing in Australia, but still, you know, plenty of fantastic racing across the whole country.
Well, that would probably throw up, having people go overseas and get that experience, surely would throw up some really good riders when it comes to future MotoGPs and maybe World Superbikes.
Well, we do see them coming through all the time. It's really unfortunate to see Ant West fall in the first lap at the Moto2 here today, but you know, we've seen plenty of Australians doing well here, Moto2, MotoGP, World Supersport and World Superbike. Absolutely fantastic.
The Christian Motorcyclists Association is basically a fellowship of Christian motorcyclists, and we get together to encourage each other to you know, just get out there and enjoy some riding time and some good fellowship times. And we get to work with churches occasionally, to work with youth groups, and just to be a presence of Christ out on the road.
You've been around for quite a while now. It's a national organisation, I believe.
Yeah, the Christian Motorcycle Association of Australia started about 31 years ago, and we've got representatives in each state, and we really enjoy getting together once a year on a national basis, and yeah, so it's quite a good movement.
And what sort of bikes are you riding?
Look, we've got everything in CMA. We've got a couple of little red Vespers that turn up with us wherever we go. We've got Harleys, dual sports, cruisers, sports bikes, everything. Well represented. Our motto is actually unity and diversity, and you see that just in the bikes that we ride.
One of the things about riding a motorcycle is anyone can fall off them at fast speed, but at slow speed it just looks terrible. Take the case of Ian here. Ian's been riding for 6 months, but he's about to demonstrate how well he rides at slow speed with the right training. Take it away, Ian.
Everything that you really need to be safe and to improve your riding quality at speed is learned at low speed. And most people seem to struggle with the low speed stuff. More than half of motorcycle crashes, if you want to call it that, occur at less than 20 kilometres an hour. So it stands to reason that a lot of people have issues and that's why we're just doing low speed riding demo. Most of the work that I'm doing with rider training is all low speed stuff.
Mate, all this noise must bring back a lot of memories for you.
Yeah, but we don't have the dust that you remember from Bathurst, I'll bet.
Well, I do actually. I have some wonderful memories of sitting up on the mountain, watching you go through the S's, somehow, miraculously, going off the track onto the dirt and still being able to keep your line and your speed.
Yeah, you know, those were the best days I can ever recall, you know, those late 70s, early 80s when perhaps we're not so PC, you know, it was a good time, and there seemed to be a lot more camaraderie. I mean, you come to MotoGPs, this is slightly different because it seems to me that we're getting the grips of it, but, you know, 5 or 6 years ago it was kind of you almost like you get alienated, but now we're starting, like, no alcohol here, it's all good stuff, and it's not quite like the Bathurst of old days, but it's brilliant. Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it.
I understand you've written a book about your racing days?
Yeah, appropriately named Cros Larrikin Biker. Available from all your local chemists. No. It is available in Australia. I wrote it last year. It just documents my life from when I was a young sort of cavalier rider, which you would remember in the early 70s, and it tracks my career through Australia to Japan and then on to Europe, and finally picking up a factory Yamaha contract and coming second in the World Championship. So you can fill in all the little bits in between. It's actually come up really good.
Well, Shaun, I'll bring you in here. Now tell us what you think of Graeme and his riding style.
Well, as a few people know, I've just about born with the green blood. I've always been a Kawasaki fan, so I was actually one of Graeme's fans in the late 70s, and actually had a Z1R myself in 1980 and 81. So it's great to have caught up with Graeme in the last few years.
So what's your function down here at the Grand Prix? Are you a fan, or have you got something to do?
Well, actually, surprisingly enough, I've brought a customer with me because I'm building up old classic Kawasaki's. Like your Z1R, the old Z1 that I used to race at Bathurst, that type of thing. So I'm actually recreating those again in myself. So they become a sort of a nice thing for me to get involved in. No, there's no electronic control units, and there's no, you know, all that fancy computer stuff. It's just points and plugs and thermostat for me.
Kickstarter, I hope, mate.
Well, no, I'm going to put an electric start on it.
Well, you can't have everything, man.
But that's the process. I brought this guy that's bought one off me over, and I've taken him through. And I've been lucky enough. I've met up with Valentino Rossi, and of course I used to race with his dad. So Valentino knew this, and we had a little bit of a talk, and it was really good. And of course Jeremy Burgess and all of the guys that I used to be involved in, because I've been out of it for such a long time. But there's those old stalwarts are still in there, you know, chugging along, and it's good to see.
You happy with that, mate?
I'm happy with that. You know, I think you could bring a bit more to the table though, Greg. You know, just pronounce your words a little bit better.
I'll do my best. I'll go back to school next week and let you know how I do after that.
Work on it for next week when we come back with Temporary Australians. Shiny side up.
See ya.